All science and no makeup makes this pal a really dull gal. Hi everyone, how are you guys doing today? Today we're going to talk about this brand new e.l.f. Opposites Attract palette. This one retails for $14 and comes with 18 shadows, out of which 9 are cool toned, 9 are warm toned. You have 6 shimmers, 3 per side, and you get 12 mattes, 6 per side. You get a total of 17.5 grams of product, which makes price per gram 80 cents or price per shadow 77 cents. So it is definitely a really good deal. However, is this palette good? That's what we're going to look at today. I'm going to show you 2 looks that I have created, and we are also going to do complete eye swatches of all the 18 shades, because I feel like that is truly how you can tell how the palette is going to work for you. As I said, I have created 2 looks with this palette. This was the look I created yesterday. For that look, I started out by applying the e.l.f. Sheer Eyeshadow Primer all over the lids, and I set it using the shade Fresh. Then I applied Cheeky in my crease and Wise in my outer 7. Then I applied Easygoing all over my lids, and then Bold in my inner 1/4 of the lid. I had to spray the shadow Bold with a setting spray to get the full vibrancy. And then finally I applied the shade Spicy in my inner corner and smudged it all across my lower lash line. I finished the look with some liner and some mascara. Though Easygoing looked really good, I had to keep on reapplying it because I kept on feeling like it was fading on me. Now for today's look, again I started out by applying the e.l.f. Sheer Eye Primer all over my lids, and I set it using the yellow shade Happy. Then I applied Saucy, the slightly orangey yellow shade, in my crease. As you can see, it wasn't really brightening my upper crease area as much as I would have liked. Then I applied Smooth in my outer 7. That one applied like a dream. Then I applied Warm in my inner and outer 1/3 of the lid to get a halo effect. And then I applied Clever at the center of my lid. It looked beautiful just dry, but I wanted to kind of make it more shiny, so I sprayed it with some setting spray. Then I applied the purple shimmer Chill all across my lower lash line using an angled brush. And to kind of get a reflection of the halo effect, I applied Clever in the center of my lower lash line as well. Finally, I applied the shadow Low Key in my inner corner and finished the look with some liner and some mascara. Alright, so now let's get into the eye swatches. I'm going to go row by row, so I'm just going to start here, then go all the way across, and start here again and go all the way across. I'm going to apply 1 shadow per lid, and in my usual fashion, I'm not going to have any eye primer on my lid, because when I'm applying that many shadows and taking them off one after the other, it gets really painful if I have eye primer underneath. I'm going to use some micellar water to clean my lids between applications, and I'll dry it using a dry paper towel. I'll be applying the matte shades using a fluffy brush and the shimmer shades using a flat smudger brush. In between the applications, I will be cleaning my brushes using the Clean Sweep dry brush cleaner. So the very first shadow, Fresh, is a light pastel beigey or light orangey shade, you can say. It's a nice shadow that will work as a setting shade for a lot of skin tones. Spicy is a beautiful high shine coppery gold shadow that applies effortlessly even when dry. This is, I think, the best shadow in this palette. So now you have Fresh and you have Spicy. Sassy is a light orange shadow. Unfortunately, it seems to disappear on my skin tone, so it will only work as a setting shade for me. If you're of a lighter skin tone, it might show up on your skin. Low Key is a duochrome shimmer with a pink shift. It's very similar to the shade Cube in the ABH Subculture palette. This was almost impossible to apply all over the lid when dry. It was super patchy, and it was still patchy even when I sprayed it with a setting spray. However, it kind of worked out okay in my inner corner for my today's look, so I guess it is usable that way. So then here is Sassy, and then you have Low Key. Calm is a medium gray matte. Most of the mattes in this palette are pretty sheer and take quite a few coats to build up to full opacity, and I keep on feeling like they tend to blend away at times. Clever is a light dusty mauve shimmer. Again, this is beautiful in texture and pigmentation, just like Spicy. It applies easily and spreads evenly without any skipping or patchiness. So we have Calm and we have Clever. Bold is a pretty copper shimmer, but it does not apply as well as Spicy or Clever when dry. It has to be wetted to get the full shine payoff, but when wetted, it is a beautiful shadow. Cheeky is a medium orange, slightly darker than Sassy. Again, it is pretty sheer and needs some effort to build up. To be honest, I don't feel like I'm really successful in building up the shadows in this palette to full opacity. And this could be because of lack of primer, but that is a norm for me every time I do eye swatches anyway, so I can say that these shadows are not as pigmented as I'm used to. So I have Bold, and then I have Cheeky. Happy is a medium dusty mustard matte. It's a beautiful color, very pretty color, but for my skin tone, it works more as a setting shade. Again, it is hard to even notice it when it is all over my lid. Witty is a light taupey brown matte. It is cool tone and very close to the natural coloration of my skin around my eyes. If I'm not careful, I can end up looking like I have severe dark circles with colors like these. But I don't mind having it as an option in a palette like this one. So we have Happy, and then we have Witty. Smooth is the darkest brown matte shadow in here. I like having it in here as an alternative to black for the darkest shadow in any look. I felt like this one applied okay. Chill is a medium purple shimmer. Texture wise, it is worse than Bold but better than Low Key. It is workable when used wet. I would have preferred a different formula though, especially because I love the shade. So we have Smooth and we have Chill. Saucy is a pretty medium orangey yellow matte. I like the shade, but the shadow has some issues, just like the other mattes in this palette, with difficulty in building up to full opacity without patchiness, without an eye primer, and showing up on my skin tone. Daring is a medium bronzy shimmer, another of the beautiful shimmers in this palette, which pushed my opinion of the palette towards positive, and I'm happy that it's in here. So we have Saucy, and then we have Daring. Warm is a beautiful milk chocolatey brown matte shadow. It's a very pretty color, but again, similar issues with the pigmentation and patchiness according to me. I'm not sure if it's very apparent on the camera what I mean by, not having a very even application. Easygoing is a medium purple matte. It's one of the pops of color in this palette, but it has a tendency to fade even with a primer underneath. I had to reapply it multiple times, as I said, when I created my very first look. I'm gonna try a smudger brush with the shadow to see if using a brush like that would help. No. Yep. This is giving me a little bit of fallout if I try to pack my brush too much, even here. But it is still patchy over my lids. I think it'll work best if you pack it on directly on a slightly wet primer. So you have Warm, and then you have Easygoing. Wise is a beautiful medium bottle green matte shadow. It looks slightly darker on my skin. And the final shade is called Genuine. This is a deep gray shadow. I was having trouble telling if it was applying patchy or I was just feeling that because it is gray and I was expecting a black. I would have really preferred a black instead of a deep gray in this palette. So finally we have Wise and we have Genuine. So final thoughts. As you know by now, I have very mixed feelings about this palette. I like that we have a warm side and a cool side in the same palette. So that kind of allows us to mix and match and create kind of unique looks that you cannot if you have just a warm palette or just a cool palette. In terms of the formula and pigmentation, I feel like 3 out of the 6 shades, Spicy, Daring, and Clever, are beautiful. They are very nice. Bold and Chill are okay. They work fine. They're workable with some setting spray. Low key, I don't know what to think about it. I guess it'll work out fine as long as you only use it in like limited areas like your inner corner, just on your lower lash line, all over the lid. I don't think it'll work out. In terms of mattes, you most definitely need an eyeshadow primer underneath. You cannot make these shadows work without any eyeshadow primer. I do feel like I can use my warm, what is it called? Matte for Matte palette, the purple one, without any eyeshadow primer. I'm very lazy. Usually I do not wear an eyeshadow primer underneath. I just wear my shadows like that. And I feel like I can make that palette work. I don't think the shadows in this palette kind of stay or last as long. As I showed you guys, I did have difficulty building them up to their full opacity. However, if you are just going for a crease color or a sheer wash off color, I think they're easy to work with. They will create beautiful looks for you. If you are of a lighter skin tone, I think you will not have the same issues that I did, because you know, you don't need to really pack on colors like easygoing, you know, for them to show up for you. You know, just a lighter application works. For my skin tone or darker, we need to really have to have very high pigmentation for the shadows to work. So, you know, I'm kind of meh on that front. I do like having smooth in here. I like having that option for like the darkest shade in a look. However, I wish that Genuine was a black instead of a carbon black, you know, or a deep gray shadow. Usually I tend to gravitate towards like warmer eyeshadow palettes because of my warm undertone. They look the best on me. But in this case, I feel like the color selection on the cool side is better than the warm side. You have a nice pop of color, you have an unusual green color, and then you have kind of supporting colors in here for you to work with. In terms of the warm side, I feel like there is too much repetition, because if you see cheeky and sassy, they don't look too different on my skin. Actually, I would have been fine just having cheeky in my palette, and you know, I would not have missed sassy. If you're of a lighter skin tone, maybe, you know, you guys will see some difference. I don't know. Same thing with happy and saucy. Are they identical? They are not, but having them in the same palette doesn't help me, because if I put them side by side in a look on my lid, you guys are not going to see, you know, it as anything different. It's just kind of going to look like a monochromatic look. If you're of a lighter skin tone, I feel like maybe it'll show up as different shadows on your lid, and you can create like an ombre, like a very subtle ombre yellow look, or a very subtle ombre orange look. I just swatched them on this white paper, and as you can see, between the two orange shadows, there is not much difference. Between the two yellow shadows, there is not much difference. So honestly, I don't see a point of having, you know, two of the yellows and two of the oranges in that same palette. Instead of that, I would like to see one orange, one yellow, and then the two empty spaces could have been used for like a pop of color. I would have liked to see a really, really vibrant pink, or a really vibrant orange, or red, or something like that. I feel like that's wasted space, and anytime I see that in a palette, it kind of drives me nuts, because I feel like, why? Now I'm really only getting 16 shadows and not really 18. You know what I mean? So I hope this helps you guys if you're trying to make a decision on this palette. I hope you find the eye swatches helpful. If you did, please give this video a giant thumbs up. I would love to hear your opinion on this palette. Please let me know what you guys think in the comments below. You don't have to agree with me. As long as we're open to discussion, you know, it's fine. It's all fun and games. It's freaking makeup. We are taking paint and smearing it all over our faces. We should not be fighting about it. It's just for fun, all right? If you're new to my channel, I have done these eye swatches quite a few times before for different palettes. I'll link those videos down in the description box, so definitely check them out. If you subscribe, I would love to have you as a part of my YouTube family. And you know, if you ring the bell, YouTube will inform you of my future videos. Thank you again for joining me. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.